Hello everyone. In today's video we are going to talk about a poem by Emily Dickinson. The poem title Tell All the Truth But Tell It Slant. First of all, let's talk about Emily Dickinson. Emily Dickinson was an American poet, but her original name is Emily Elizabeth Dickinson. She was born in 1830 December 10 and died on May 15, 1886. Dickinson was born in Amherst, Massachusetts, America. She belonged to a prominent family. She was not recognized well and her works did not take serious attention during her lifetime. But later, after her death, her work had been regarded as one of the important work in American poetry. Dickinson spent 7 years of her youth studying at the Amherst Academy. Later, before returning to her family's house in Amherst, Dickinson attended the Mount Holyoke Female Seminary. Dickinson preferred isolation and even lived much of her life in isolating herself. She was considered as peculiar and eccentric. She had an obsession toward white clothes, but she was criticized for her reluctant attitude on greeting guests. Dickinson remained unmarried throughout her life phase. Dickinson only had 10 publications of her work during her lifetime, but apart from that, she had nearly 1800 poems and one letter. Her poems were edited significantly to fit conventional poetic rules after the publication. Dickinson poems were considered as a unique piece of art of her era. Most of her poems contain short lines and they do not hold any titles. Her poems embrace a slant rhyme and unconventional capitalization and punctuation. Dickinson's most poems were draped with themes of death and immortality, society's values and its aesthetics, nature and spirituality. People says that Dickinson's friends were aware of her writing, but it was not until her death in 1886. Later, her younger sister Lavinia discovered her collection of poems and became public later. Thomas Wentworth Higginson and Mabel Loomis Todd edited Dickinson's content of poem and published them in 1890. I have pasted here the poem by Emily Dickinson here so that it would be easier for you to read out here. So let's move into the poem here. Tell all the truth but tell it slant. This poem deliberates to tell the whole truth, but it should be presented from a certain angle or point of view. The poem begins with the speaker instructing the reader to tell all the truth but tell it slant. Truth would be effective if it is told in a roundabout way, as human beings are too weak to take in the truth's magnificent brilliance all at once. This poem brings the essence of telling the truth small so as not to overpower people. The poet here says that truth never means to show too directly because every people is not capable to understand, to grasp it and to accept it. The word slant in the poem points toward a specific angle and perspective. It also essentially means a slope. It provides the meaning of the truth that should never be told in direct manner. The poet says that truth should be articulated from different perspectives. So, there is a question, why should truth be approached in slant? Why the term slant is here in the poem? I think that because everyone does not have the capacity to grasp and embrace it. However, speaker is not advocating lies here in this poem, but while saying the truth, it should be embraced and understood in proper ways. So, in the second half, Dickinson asks more questions than any answer. She says the truth must be revealed itself with explanation kind. So, does she mean it must be explained like we explain children about lightning so that they may not scare? This makes us to think poem and its content metaphorically. Likewise, final lines of the poem tell the reader that truth must be reflect brightness, otherwise the shocks of truth will blind everyone. Now let's talk about the structure and form of this poem. Dickinson's this poem has an 8-line poem which is separated into two sets of 4 lines or quatrains. It has structure in the form of a traditional chorus ballad. Its line alternate in meter between iambic tetrameter and iambic trimeter. The rhyme scheme also alternates here. The second and fourth line rhyme, likewise sixth and eighth lines too. The words slant and delight are connected due to consonants, which means they have a similar hard constant sound T. The poem has also the assonance or E vowel sound, which is between the fifth and seventh lines. The poem moves our attention to uncommon pattern of rhyme, which is impossible to ignore here when considering the content of the text itself. So, here the uses of partial rhyme itself provides the message that one should only tell partial truths. The final line of the poem ends with one of Dickinson's characteristic dashes. This shows that if the poem is not yet over, it continues more on somewhere and as if there is more truth to talk about. So, this much for this poem today. Thank you.